Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is AP coming at you with another AP chat. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but life's a bitch. But finally, we're back on track doing the epiCHATS, and I got someone on the show that I've been wanting to interview with for a while, but that was back in like 2014, 2015, when I was also a bit more active. But now we get the chance. We got talking, and he has been in the news with his team lately as well, so I think it's a great opportunity. It's Mason from Team Onyx. Mason, thanks for taking the time, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for interviewing me.
Yeah, dude, definitely. We have a lot to talk about, and I've been yeah. Well, let's perhaps just start with your qualification for the Kiev Major, because I'm sure that people that are tuning in for this will be. Oh, this is the most current event. We'll talk a bit about some past stuff and go more in depth. But since this is kind of a current event, let's speak about that. You beat Complexity in a best of three to qualify for the Kiev Major. And you know what I remember from it was the casters being just super happy, especially for Bulba afterwards. Let's hear a bit from your perspective. How could you talk to me a bit about kind of just how you perceive the game and how it went, and then I'll ask you some follow ups.
Sure. About the complexity series in particular.
Yeah, exactly. How that last game went for you guys, because that was, I think, the third series you played that game. How were you feeling? What was the
hmm
mood like? How did you go into it?
Uh, we started off the day kind of slow. We lost to Freedom,
Hmm.
but after that, we kind of all picked it up, and we said, this is do or die. We just gotta make it happen. We beat Freedom the next two following games, and then we went on to 2 NP. So we were feeling a lot of confidence, kind of like going into the series, and we had some really good strategies going into the series.
So that was with
And
NP when you or Complexity already.
I'm just talking about complexity. Like,
Yeah.
leading up to complexity, we were just feeling really good. We had
Hmm.
some really solid strategies, and no one was really nervous or anything. We were all playing our A game. Everyone was really confident because in scrims we were doing very well against these teams, and it
Hmm.
was just like, all right, guys, we just gotta translate it to the real games. So yeah.
Who was so in these perhaps talks before the game? Because all right, it's let's list the lineup for people listening. It's Bulba, Demon, Dubu, Mason, and Abed. Of course, I mean if people you're listening to this, you'll probably know, but just to refresh your minds, who when you're essentially just talking about how you're totally able to do it, you just gotta translate. Who's the guy that's doing the pep talk?
The pep talk. Well, I was doing the pep talk, and then like Dubu, he's our captain and drafter kind of, so he kind of leads us in game. But me, Bulba, and Dubu kind of share that responsibility. So yeah.
Hmm. So, do you still remember? So when you think back to that series, do you remember each game in particular, and are you able to just talk to us a bit about your perspective of each game, or is it just like one kind of memory for you?
It's all kind of just one memory for me, honestly.
Okay, were there any
Um,
particular things that stood out for you?
I mean, I know in game two we had some trouble finding the right plays because they had a Slark and the map was just kind of dark for us.
Hmm.
Game three we had a Meepo, Abed God, just
Yeah.
putting out sick plays and kind of carrying us. Um, Nothing really in particular though. It was a great feeling winning. I remember that. I
Hmm.
remember us winning and everyone was just happy, happy as can be.
And I'm not sure if this is common knowledge, but I don't know. Were you guys in one location for it? Did you boot camp for it? Were you all together, or was it from remotely playing together?
I don't know. We were boot camping at the Beyond the Summit house in Los Angeles,
Ah, yes,
California.
true. Yeah, yeah, yes. Now that you say it, I saw the tweet. And when you got Meepo for the third game, what was it? Well, we're 70% there, or were you just very focused? Do you feel like people have been underestimating it, and you thought you have it in the bag pretty much?
We don't really pick it in scrims, so maybe people forgot about it. But
Hmm.
we did pick it versus NP, so I thought maybe Complexity would know what's up. But you know, Abed's a really great meepo, and the second we picked that, we kind of just knew like, yeah, this game's in the bag. But yeah, we just sometimes you just forget about it in the heat of the moment. You're drafting, you're like worrying about a bunch of other things. Sometimes you miss one thing, and I guess they missed the meepo.
Mm. And do you because the whole NA scene is kind of its own kind of microcosm. Do you how was your relationship with the Complexity guys? Was there any particular like do you get along well? Was there any kind of conflict that made the victory even sweeter, or what's the relationship like between the teams?
Uh, I'd say the relationship's okay.
Hmm.
I have a little bit of personal beef with Swindle Melons.
Oi,
Uh, what?
oi! I said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Swindle sometimes likes to be an ass in pubs,
Hmm.
and it's really annoying to deal with. I remember one specific incident is like I picked Spectre in a pub or something. He's like giving me like some lecture about how life goes or something. It was just I don't know. The guy, there's something wrong with him. I don't know, dude. But anyways, other than that, no, everyone's fine with each other. Everyone's cool. No real bad blood or anything.
All right. It's interesting though because especially captains they need they have very kind of individual characters, I guess, and maybe in some cases you have to, and maybe it helps in some cases leading a team. Do you, how is it? Do you have like one, like in the past you played with PPD, for example, pretty much all of the members and big players in North America. When you compare your current team with, for example, EG that you played with in the past, do you on Onyx have one player that would kind of be like the PPD of the group, or is it a different kind of captaining style that you guys are utilizing?
I think it's a little different. PP on the old DG, there really wasn't much talking. It
Mm-hmm.
was mainly just PPD. He would make some calls, rotate to this lane and such. Dubu does that, but I think me and Bulba really chime in a lot more than like compared to the old DG. So like Dubu's not really like PPD per se, where he's just kind of like one voice and that's about it. Everyone on the team contributes a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean you have especially between probably you, Bulba, and Demon, you have a lot of experience on the team. Do you feel that does that make it um, I would imagine if you have people that have been around for such a long time, that would make it a bit hard to captain that kind of group. What's your like? How are you guys gelling in game when it becomes stressful? Have you had these real tests yet? Are you considering Kiev to be the kind of first real stress test for the group, or was the qualifier already enough for you to tell exactly how you guys will handle big stress situations in game?
We've had some stressful moments. There's been some days where, scrims go really poorly and um we failed to qualify for DAC. We
Mm.
were a really new team then, but we had Abed. We failed to qualify then. We've had bad scrim days. I think we all know what we're like when we get stressed and when we're not feeling so hot. But it's really not that bad. People just want to get better on this team. And that's one of the great things about this team.
Mm.
Everyone just wants to get better. Everyone just wants to win. We have some like people who have been around the scene forever, like Jimmy and Bulba, and they're still really hungry to win. And I think that's one of the really good things about this team. Everyone just wants to win.
Mm. All right. And is there any particular like anything in regards to how Onyx came to be that you want to share with us? Because it was in January when the team got announced. Can you talk to us a bit about how it all formed, how it came about?
Yeah, sure. Um, I know that Jimmy and Dubu really wanted to play together, and they were trying to figure out how to make that work in a way. And then Bulba was kind of in the picture, so it was basically Jimmy, Bulba, and Dubu. And then they approached me,
Hmm.
and I said yes, of course, because it was a great opportunity. And then we were kind of looking at a mid player, and this is where like we had a lot of options, but it was hard because in NA, there's a lot of mid players, but they're maybe not so great, or like they're untested, or maybe the potential just isn't there. So we had a list of people, and we weren't like really feeling it when we like talked to these people or played with them or whatever, or just thought about it. So we kind of like looked outside the scope of NA,
Mhm.
And we heard that Abed may be interested in like joining another team or something. So I think Bulba or Jimmy got in contact with them, kind of like laid it out for Abed. It's like, all right, Abed, this is what's gonna happen here. Would you mind moving to NA? We have a lot of good talent and a lot of a lot of drive to win. And Abed's like, okay, give me some time to think about this. I'll let you know. Apparently, like 2 hours later, Abed's like, all right, I'm in. So it was pretty cool. So
He's pretty young, right? He's a youngster.
yeah, I think he's 16 now. He was
Wow.
15 at his last TI. It's crazy.
Okay, and if if now you're gonna head to Kiev Major, what one thing that I wrote down that I really want to talk to you about was your perspective on the current state of Dota, in and how it will how the Kiev Major may unfold. So. I guess what I wanted to start with is, are you liking the current patch? What are your thoughts on it?
Um,
We had the big changes with the skill tree. The map got worked around a bit ever since that big,
hmm,
and wondering how your thoughts might have changed, or any big strategy changes.
so you mean like all the way from 7.0 till now, or like
Yeah,
just this one particular patch?
well, to be completely honest, on my skill level, subjectively, the big 7 patch for me got the biggest changes in. So but whatever you feel are the big changes, of course, what the viewers are going to be interested in.
Yeah, okay. I think I think this patch, like 7.0 and onwards, changed how Dota was played a little bit. I think up until maybe 7.04 is that the current one we're on. So 7.0 to 7.03,
Mm-hmm.
the game was kind of like fast and favored a lot of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's kind of the same in 7.04, but it's a little bit slower. So, and also, actually, there's one thing I really dislike about this patch. I feel like there's six heroes that are just way better than the other heroes, and there's only four bans, so I feel like two of these heroes are just gonna get through every single time at Kiev, and Monkey King is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The hero's just really strong. He can just win every lane for his team. Scales incredibly well. There's just a lot of heroes like this, so kind of sucks that the patch is like that, honestly, because it
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of like Sniper and Troll Warlord. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you remember that. It's kind of just cancer, but yeah. Other than that, I like the patch. I think it's a good team patch. I think there's solo play involved. People are picking carries again, so it's not all just like some Furion 5-man stuff or anything like that. No, it's not a lot of cheese. It's just some overpowered heroes. Tied in with some aggression. And I like Dota where it's at, honestly. Some people complain. I like it.
Mm-hmm. So the implementation of the shrines and such. So actually, if we consider shrines, those skill trees, or whatever changes may have been made to those 6 years that you mentioned, what of those things would you say do you kind of, well, think had the most impact on the way the game is played?
I think people really pick heroes now for skill trees, the talent trees. Like, if a hero has a bad level 10 and a bad level 15, you're like, I'm not picking this hero. I think maybe one exception is like Ricky lately, because his talents are the best, but
Mm-hmm.
seems okay. But like Lena, look at Lena's talent tree is minus 30-second respawn,
Mm-hmm.
and then 15 is plus 50, 55 damage when she has like Fiery Soul, so benefits her a lot. So yeah, people and like Lone Druid, they had to nerf his talent tree,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of weird. Like Ice Frog's now like nerfing and buffing talent trees rather than touching the heroes themselves, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have no real feelings towards it one way or another. I don't dislike it. I don't like it. It's kind of just whatever, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
also,
sorry, go ahead.
uh, yeah, and also, shrines are pretty interesting. Uh, it's harder to get map control because you have to take a tier 3 in a sense to get map control,
Mm-hmm.
and then the off lane's also a bit easier. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. One thing that actually just came back to mind is you mentioned swindles a while back, And I wasn't active in Han. I don't know if you played Han.
I did for a little bit.
Ah, okay. Because correct me if I'm wrong here, but PPD, at least from what I heard, he's a leader in game, and he does his thing. And Swindles also is a strong leader, but he is well, at least I heard that sometimes he gets a bit angry. Was this the case in EG with PPD as well, or was he more chill about it?
No, PPD got mad sometimes, but it was really like it was more just kind of like that silent kind of mad, that silent raging, you know.
Hmm.
But he was good for the most part, you know.
And
Wasn't too bad or anything.
And did and because I'm asking this because I'm wondering if something crazy happened, because I'm basing this on a particular thing I saw in an interview of yours, because it seems that obviously you guys pay a lot of attention, kind of what can go wrong in a game, and there was a situation where you said, and this is many years ago, so it doesn't really apply to the current patch. But you said that you guys were playing against, it might have been Fnatic, and you were playing against a very early game, folk-centric draft. So like a Chen was involved, I think. And you mentioned in this particular case, Arteezy was playing PA. He was holding on to 1900 gold, and he wasn't spending it. And then you guys were having a rough time. And essentially that made it very hard for you to get back into the game. I'm not sure if you won or lost that game, but it was something that you did mention, and that was a bit, it was something that bothered you a little bit at that point in time. If in Onyx, you guys go about finding reasons for why you might have lost, how does this kind of conversation happen? Is it do you have like some lessons that you learned from back in EG? Like don't don't be flamey about it, or don't be bitchy about it, or take an hour to calm down before you do it, or is it or does on Onyx that doesn't happen as often because pretty much everyone is aware of what went wrong?
Um, we really like to learn from our mistakes and learn from our games. So, to the latter part of your question, that's not how it really goes. We always talk about what went wrong. We try to do it right after the game while everything's still fresh. It's definitely not good to be whiny or bitchy or anything like that, cancerous. Everyone makes mistakes. I don't really recall that interview, but yeah. Anyways, yeah,
You were
we just
just to clarify, you were sitting on the couch with gods, and you weren't mad or anything. You just said you tried to explain that they were putting a lot of pressure on you, and that you would have liked, I think, Arteezy to buy something with the gold. It was just
yeah, fucking RTZ dude. Anyways, uh, nothing really. I just we've all learned a lot from a lot of our experiences because we're all pretty experienced players, minus Abed.
yeah.
So we kind of know what's the proper way to approach a situation, like post game talks and stuff. And we all try to remain very calm and don't be like too biased or anything. I still have trouble with this sometimes. Like if my lane's going poorly, sometimes maybe I'll get a little whiny post game or something. But I try to curb it as soon as possible because it's just not a healthy way to talk to people or just talk in general. So we all just try to be really supportive of each other. We all try to just look at the game as unbiased as possible and try to figure out what went wrong and just talk about it in like a really neutral manner.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting because when I talked to PPD, he mentioned that well in the weeks and months leading up to EG winning the international, that he was very very strict, and he would kind of call out mistakes and maybe not care too much about how he said it. And then later on, he maybe calmed down a little bit and tried to be a bit more social in the way that he would critique people. And he mentioned that he wanted to go back to the kind of old way. So what I'm thinking about a lot lately is we've had this trend where people realize that just blaming and pointing out mistakes without worrying about how you're saying it is very detrimental to just the team dynamic and motivation and such. So people try to say it a bit more nicely. But now I'm seeing this trend as well where people are saying, well, sugarcoating it a lot also doesn't help. So wherein that's like, Do you kind of get what I'm getting at, and what are your thoughts on this phenomenon?
It's I think there's a middle ground definitely. Like you don't have to sugarcoat things. Most people are like an adult who play Dota for a professional team, except for like Abed and stuff. But you just gotta be honest. It's all about honesty, and it's about how you word it. If you be honest and you're coming from a good place, the other person won't most likely won't get that offended. Maybe they'll be like a little hurt that you're critiquing them, like critique like depends what you're saying, but some people make it hurt. But everyone's different. Some people are really sensitive. Some people just don't care. Like all they want to hear is what's your feedback, and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter how you say it. They hear the feedback, they're like okay. Some people are different. I just think there's a middle ground. I think just being honest and not being an asshole about it is the best way to go. So yeah. I
Well,
don't really I don't really think being an asshole and then critiquing them is the right way to go about it, like some people think.
mm. And when you compare your thoughts on this matter, the way you think about it now with Onyx, maybe back versus when you first joined EG, uh, is there any big differences? Any big kind of changes of mind that you've had, or has it just been kind of the same?
What exactly do you mean?
So
Like,
did you did maybe so what I'm wondering is when you were on EG, would you be more impulsive or not think as much about wording your critique in a better way than you're doing now?
um, back in EG, I was really new to the scene. Kind of, I
Mm,
only had like maybe 5 competitive games under my belt at some team called Take Five. I was just kind of there to play my game. I wasn't really a driving force in, like post game discussions or anything. I'd usually be the one receiving criticism.
mm-hmm,
Uh, so I've kind of grown a lot as a player, and like not just like skill and how I think about the game, but like as like a leader and someone who's experienced too. So I used to be on the receiving end a lot of times and
mm-hmm.
just kind of not say anything. Now I kind of dole it out too. So I don't know. In regards to EG, the opportunity to like play with people like PPD and Arteezy and Universe, it really just helped me understand Dota a lot better and what it's like to be a part of a winning and successful team.
Mm. And I assume that you guys are still in touch. You're still friends and such.
I talk to all of them once in a while. I still talk to Arteezy every day, so yeah,
It,
keep in touch with them
what,
every
what,
now and then.
when you talk with Arteezy, do you speak like cavemen?
No, no, no.
Mm,
That was just that one thing in real life, whatever. When we talk on Steam or Skype or whatever, it's just like normal people.
okay, you talk just like normal people. All right.
Yep, yep.
That's good. That's good to know. When okay, now you've mingled with NA's finest. You are now playing your own team, and you've reached a huge milestone in going to Kiev. Uh, what are some teams right now, or if you would have to name like one or two teams right now that you are maybe let's say looking up to that you really admire in the way that they're executing Dota. Is there anything in particular that any team in particular that comes to mind?
Yeah, IG hands down. I'm
Okay.
extremely impressed with how they're playing. I think they are just way better than everyone else. They understand the meta way better than everyone else. Like OG, EG, newbie, they understand it way better than them. It's like not even close, honestly, when I watch the games and how they play.
And has this opinion? Have you had this opinion for a while, or how long have you
Uh,
had this?
when we watched the qualifiers, I was for Kiev, which
Mm-hmm.
they won. I was pretty impressed, but I wasn't like blown away or anything. I was like, all right, they're playing really solid Dota. This is kind of like how we play and how we want to play.
Mm-hmm.
They're executing really well. They're playing as a team. There's really no weaknesses. And then when I saw them at DAC, they kind of evolved even a little bit more. They did some really good things like they would attack early, pressure early, take tier ones, and they would defend their own tier ones. And they're very like methodical and systematic in the way they play. And it's not like and all the meanwhile they still have a lot of individual skills. So it's not just like some 5-man ball or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really impressed with how they draft and how they play. It's very good.
So does this ability from IG to kind of take objectives and try not to lose them at the same time, does this revolve around some particular few heroes that you saw recurring? And did you have kind of an aha moment kind of about what, if there's any, kind of center of gravity that makes the whole thing work, or is it just the way that that they share kind of tasks on the team?
There's a few heroes that made that like make it easy for them. Like Nakes is extremely strong in lane. It's really hard to bully Nakes out unless you do some really good aggro. So the hero like wins his lane and then can go to other lanes and kind of put a lot of pressure
Mm-hmm.
and even get the tower. And then like Monkey King wins your lanes. So they make it really easy for themselves by winning their lanes and then having good heroes that like good early game heroes and then mid game heroes, and their scaling is really nice. So they take these objectives, they defend these objectives, and all in the meanwhile, like their lineup doesn't really fall off. They won their lanes, they're taking objectives, they're winning their early game, and they scale really well in the mid game. So I don't want to talk about too much about strategy, but yeah, they just they do things really well. I like how they play and how
uh,
they think about the game.
yeah, I mean the feedback I'm getting from people in regards to these talks is what is really kind of the heroine for the people listening to this kind of stuff is exactly that type of shit when people like yourself speak about what goes through your mind when you watch these games. And I think just little tidbits like making sure that you have a hero like Nakes that doesn't get bullied will be very interesting for a lot of people. But is there any additional kind of info you can give, maybe in regards to a particular game that you saw that IG played that were you just kind of smiling to yourself, thinking, "Holy fuck, this is great what they're doing"? Was there like, do you remember any moments or things that they did that impressed you particularly?
Yeah, actually there was. I mean, all their games impressed me, but there was one game where Burning was Weaver, and obviously I'm a carry player, so I like to
Mm-hmm.
kind of focus on the carry players more so
Mm.
than the other players. Um, Burning was playing Weaver, and Burning, when I watched him play, and when he first joined IG, I watched replays of their games
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, because they were winning a lot of things, but Burning was buying Midas on Weaver and stuff, and kind of just sitting in his lane and not really doing anything. And it was like, all right, this is kind of whatever. I don't really know what I'm watching. There's not really much to get from this. But he played Weaver at DAC, and he was in an aggro tri lane, and he played lane really well, didn't go greedy, and then he made really good rotations, like super sick rotations, all early game. Probably TP to three different lanes, or every single lane he was TPing to, he was going mid at level 6. He was just putting crazy amounts of pressure on the map, and that really impressed me. Because from what I know in the past of him and what I saw in that replay and some other things, like he kind of just sits there and farm and is a solid carry, but doesn't really do anything like wows anyone. And this like wowed me. I was just really impressed by his rotations. And yeah, he had some really good movements, and IG as a whole just has really good movements. They understand the game pretty well.
It's interesting, especially considering how long he's been around, because that must have been not the easiest kind of thing to adjust his playstyle like that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Is there any hints you can give out about? Well, I mean, this will be super oversimplified, but is there some, the decision for a carry that's on his lane or maybe pressuring a lane, whether or not he should now TP to another lane is something that gets talked about a lot. Like, how do you really decide if it's worth it or not? Sometimes you TP and you're like, well, fuck, the fight's over, I can run back to lane. Is there anything in particular that you watch out for when you want to decide if it's time for you to help out your team, or is it hard to explain? You need to have the experience to do it.
Well, I don't want to like again. This kind of goes to strategy. This is like my personal strategy now. So
Oh shit!
I don't want to say like what exactly I do in a game to like
But
determine
just
whether
to
or not I
clarify,
rotate.
you have you have something like this, so you could if you wanted, and you just want to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do things. There are a lot of things that I check to make sure I can rotate to a lane,
Mm-hmm.
and it's planned ahead of time. It's not something you just kind of do,
Mm-hmm.
usually. Uh, One thing I can talk about though, it's kind of like a side note, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is that you talked about like burning, and he's such an old player. He's been around for so long, and now he's doing this thing like where he's Weaver and he's rotating to all these lanes and like playing some extremely aggressive playstyle, and that's not really like him in the past.
Yeah.
I just think it's crazy that some of these older players, and what impresses me the most, are just able to adapt to the current metagame.
Yeah.
Some people get stubborn. They're like they want to play one way, and this is the only way they know how to play. But people like Burning and like just other old people who, and I try to be like this too. I'm not that old, but I try to make sure I'm up to date with the metagame and how it's played. I don't want to be stuck in some 2-year-old playstyle. And it's just really impressive for people like Burning and all these other old guys to just keep up with the metagame and play properly and play appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's impressive.
Okay. Well, I mean, IG has been getting a lot of hype. Do you have like any? So after IG, who would you put on kind of spot 2 and 3 on your personal kind of list of teams to beat?
OG is probably number two, and then not really sure on number three. Maybe VP.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see the DAC, but excuse me, they play really well. They play good team Dota. They just have a very good understanding. I feel like it's kind of similar to IG, and OG is different from those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably go one IG, two OG, three VP.
Mm-hmm. And if we can turn it around a bit, because obviously you guys are informing yourselves about competition and such, from the qualified teams, is there like which teams do you know pretty much nothing about? Have you scrimmed with pretty much most of them, or is there some where maybe SG or TNC? Is there some teams that you haven't played with a lot yet, and where you're unsure how it's going to go?
We're still in NA, so we've only really scrimmed NA teams. EU, C, China. The only things we know about these guys are what we've seen in tournaments. So
Mm.
no, we haven't really done any scrimming. We're boot camping for Kiev in about a week, so we'll
Mm-hmm.
probably get some scrims in with all those teams and figure out how they play. We'll try to. So yeah, but for now, really don't know that much other than what we see.
Mm-hmm. How about pocket strats? I remember I think it was Eternal Envy. He would always at least give me the impression that he has a bunch of things that he doesn't really talk about, but that they have a big influence on the game. Has it changed at all? Is there like any secrets left in the game that they can give a big advantage in a competitive game, or are those times kind of over where you can have these weird Venomancer pulls of ancients, and is there still some unknowns out there that may get revealed at the Kiev Major, you think?
There's definitely some unknowns. Not everything's discovered. The metagame is constantly evolving.
Mm.
One thing that NP picked at DAC that I can talk about is they picked Medusa mid, and it was actually pretty strong in certain lineups, and no one was really picking Medusa mid.
Mm-hmm.
And NP, I'll just keep talking about NP because they were at the tournament. This about EE. They picked like Dazzle Beastmaster. It was pretty strong. Like there are certain picks that aren't really explored in other regions that are definitely viable and good. So yeah, there's still heroes and combinations that you can work with that are just good and kind of unexplored.
Mm-hmm. Oh, could you expand a bit on the Medusa mid and what made it so strong?
Well, like if you play Lifestealer, it's kind of a pain to play versus Medusa, and Lifestealer was really popular at the tournament. Also, people at the tournament, for whatever reason, were just buying Midases and trying to play the game really slow. It was kind of weird, but they were just doing that, and they were just playing slow Dota. And Medusa is a hero that kind of just she enjoys slow Dota. It's fine for her. It really doesn't bother her at all.
Mm-hmm.
And also, she's really hard to gank middle. Let's say you have a Monkey King kind of roaming around. Like it's hard for this Monkey King to really gank mid. I think some Medusa with level 3 mana shield and ult. I don't. You can't really touch her that much. So there was just it was good versus certain heroes. It was good versus how people were playing at DAC. I feel it was a good pick. Just an annoying tanky mid hero that enjoys like these late game scenarios.
Mm-hmm. And another hero I want to mention is your Meepo. Is it like what's your what's your thoughts on the hero in terms of well, I don't want to say like when to pick it because maybe that will be a bit too in depth, but is
Love
it
these strategy questions, huh?
yeah, dude. Is it fine? Is it is it relatively easily beatable? Like it's not like you'll pick it every chance you get because it's not always a safe kind of win. So it's still kind of niche. Or yeah, what's your thoughts on that hero?
Um, I'd say Meepo is still kind of niche. I don't think you can just straight up first pick him, um, unless you like know what the other team's gonna pick or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the hero has some weaknesses for sure. Abed's a great Meepo player though, so maybe the weaknesses don't matter that much. Like
Yeah.
he picked Winter Wyvern, and that hero is amazing versus Meepo because all you do is you put one Meepo under, and he kind of just kills himself. But Abed managed to play against it. Had really good positioning. He bladed the Meepo that got put under and stuff, and there's definitely counters. I'm not gonna list all of them, but there's counters, and you can't just blindly pick him first pick or anything. I think there's just too many.
And that was game three, right? Where you had the Wyvern against the Meepo, and people were
Game two against
ah, okay.
MP, the second game of the series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember people were worried about, it's it how's it going to work out, but Abed did a pretty strong job against it. It was actually pretty interesting to see how, especially the high ground sieges where got pretty tight. Um, all right, well, appreciate it. Let's talk a bit about the time between EG and you joining Onyx because uh, you know I'm not in the NA scene, and I'm wondering
Hmm.
how was that time after that your stint with EG ended. How active were you in general in the Dota 2 scene? And how was life for you during during that time before we saw you back again in kind of the big picture with Onyx?
Yeah. So after EG, I kind of I took a break. Um, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep playing Dota. Like I said in an interview once that I didn't really want to play competitive Dota unless it was like with friends or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of take back that statement to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy competitive Dota. It's really fulfilling for me to be able to compete and exceed and do well. Like this competition feeling is just something I've always enjoyed from when I was a kid to now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really wanted to play. So I quit after EG. I kind of just did my own thing. Played random games. Uh, Maybe looked for some opportunities for teams, but I kind of just chilled for a year. And then after TI 5, I started getting back into the swing of things. So took a year long break. Um, Tried to get on some teams. Got on some teams that weren't that successful. I didn't really feel confident about. I'd call them more so stacks than teams,
Mm-hmm.
because there was no captain. There was no feeling of like team unity. There was no game plans. It was kind of just scrim, play, and that's it. You wouldn't no one would try to go the extra mile, you know? It
Mm-hmm.
was just a bunch of people who wanted to play but didn't really give a shit enough to really put everything on the line, so to speak. Like on Onyx, none of us are going to school. We play Dota all day. We talk about Dota all day. This is what we want to do. This is what we care about. My other teams, like Stacks, whatever, I didn't get that feeling. I didn't get that feeling that people cared.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, after TI5, joined some teams. Um, just wasn't that good. And then going up until this season, TI7, I joined the team for the Boston major, but it felt like a stack, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done playing with these stacks. I'm done. Like this is just a waste of my time. It's a waste of my energy. That's the one thing that people don't get. It's so draining playing and losing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really draining. It's so stressful and draining. And I was like, all right, this is too much for me. I want to be a part of a team that gives a shit and that is successful because I know I can do this. I know I can. So I quit that team really shortly after, and all I did was play pubs. I was like, all right, I'm gonna impress someone. I'm gonna talk to people. I'm gonna try to get on a real team and see where we go from there. So I did that. Played a lot of pubs, and then I heard Onyx was kind of forming, and yeah, it kind of just went from there. Our tour kind of talked to Bulba, it, like laid down a good foundation for me. Excuse me, laid down a good foundation for me, and uh, and then a Bulba kind of approached me. He's like, "Oh, you want to play?" The rest is history, and so on and so forth. But yeah,
Wow, so your boy Arteezy was a bit active, helping a brother out to help you, get on the
yeah,
map.
yeah, I appreciate that. I was just playing a lot of pubs with him, and I was, trying really hard. And I think he saw that. He's like, "Wow, maybe Mason really is back. Maybe Mason really wants to play." So kind of just put in good forward for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's a really cool background story. It makes me really happy to hear. I'm very happy for you that it all worked out that way. And what I'm wondering is, in particular, when you've had the experience of playing with EG and it then ending, was there like what was the is it fair to say that there was like a downtime or like a depression almost where you were involved in these big events and achieving stuff, and then you were playing in these kind of stacks? What was your mindset like during that time? Was it particularly fun, or was it pretty shitty? How were you feeling in that time?
Um, so when I took my year off, I wasn't feeling shitty at all. And then when I started getting back in the swing of things, I didn't feel too bad. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks from going to playing with EG to going to these stacks and like not only like not doing well at a land, I'm not even going to lands. I'm not even qualifying for lands. I'm not even like getting second place in the qualifiers. Like this is this is like so much worse than EG. It's like it's kind of sad in a sense, but I didn't like let it get me down too much. I'm not really that kind of person where I get like extremely depressed about something. I was just like, all right, I need to try harder. I need to do something better. It was more like I just kind of pushed myself harder every single time. So, and even though I want to say one thing, like even though I was playing with these stacks and like just wasn't a good team feeling, I learned from them. I learned like, you see people do something that's bad, like whether it's like a team environment thing or like no post game discussion or just like attitudes in games, stuff like that. It's not even like play itself. It's like you pick up these things from teams like, all right, when I join a real team, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that person, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. It did help me grow and learn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are in that situation where they are maybe in Dota 1 days they've had like relatively good success. Now they're trying to get onto teams, and they may even be pretty well known in amongst pros, but they don't have a team, and they're trying very hard to get in on a big team. And I think there's a big a slice of demographic of people that are just in this exact situation we're talking about, where they're trying and trying and trying in qualifiers, but they're just not managing. So I think what perhaps would be one cool thing is without going into detail of kind of who you learned it from and stuff, but what are some of the things that during those 1 or 2 years that you experienced, that you said, okay, these are some do not do things that I don't want to make my teammates experience when I play with them? Like, was it like something with attitude, or what are some of those things that made you go, I don't want to be like that?
Um, it wasn't all negative. There was some positive, but
Mm-hmm.
anyways, so like attitude was a big thing, like a really big thing. I did not want to be some cancerous person who drags down the team, who doesn't say anything nice about anyone. Like a good play happens, sometimes people would just like, you should congratulate them, make them feel good about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and like out of game, you should say nice things to people every once in a while, make them feel good about themselves. Um, just things like that. Attitude's really important, and like I don't. You said something about like PPD, like yelling at people or whatever. I didn't really experience that, but I don't think it should be like that. I think you should try to pick up your teammates and elevate them. I think just try to be a good teammate. Like in real sports, you try to be a good teammate. I used to play soccer, and I was co-captain at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like one of my big responsibilities was kind of make everyone feel good about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that when I started playing Dota, there's this disconnect. Obviously, you're on a computer, you're not really facing that person, So sometimes you don't really treat them like people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I struggle with that sometimes, especially in pubs. I get quite flaming in pubs. But anyways, it's really important to remember there is a person on the other side of the computer. There is a person playing that hero. They have feelings. You should probably try to make them feel good about themselves. Probably play better because of it. And so yeah, attitude's a big thing. And then another big thing is like identifying your mistakes. Because with these stacks, no one wants to like really talk about the game and what went wrong and like look at the other team and like what did that other team do well and what did I not do well. No one really wanted to examine the game, so it felt like there was no growth. You would
Mm-hmm.
just play and there was no real growth. So um, wanted to make sure that like whatever team I joined, there would be post game discussions, like fruitful post game discussions. Like at the beginning of Onyx, the discussions sometimes were not so fruitful. Like you didn't really learn much from them. But
Mm-hmm.
we've kind of like we've discussed that, and I feel like we've really come to an understanding about what we need to talk about and what we need to do in order to better the team. So yeah.
So do you at the over those discussions try to make sure that you for yourself have a concrete to do? Like don't kind I don't know, do this in that team fight situation, or what for you makes a difference of or what needs to come out of a discussion like that in order for you to say, all right, this is now contributing to us improving as a team.
Uh, Personally, myself, I try not to be too blamey, flamey, toxic, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, Bulba and Dubu themselves usually lead discussions, and I'll chime in when I feel necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like to get something good out of discussion, it should be kind of short. It shouldn't be some 2 hour rant or anything. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that used to happen. So get to the point. What do we think went wrong? What did the other team do well? Maybe what can we learn from this game? Very short. Get to the point. No ranty stuff. Because I feel like when you rant, you go off on tangents. So
Yeah.
just try to make it short and sweet. Just get right to the point.
All right. One thing also or one person I wanted to ask you about a bit more detail is Bulba. Um,
Hmm.
because he has been, it's been no secret that back in EG, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's in my memory that he was drafting, helping them draft, being kind of a drafting partner, I guess. And he is held in extremely high regard from like all these people. It was actually super sweet, after you guys beat Complexity, how the mood was in the studio. I remember Capitalist and the whole crew sitting there, and they were just kind of stunned, and they just kept Charlie was there and Blitz was there, I think Shiver, and they were saying that they're just super happy for Bulba. And they refer to him, that he has just so much knowledge on the game. um, could you, as someone who's playing with him, could you talk a bit about Bulba and kind of his strengths and maybe weaknesses, as kind of a teammate, captain, and his knowledge of the game, so we can kind of get a better understanding of where this super high opinion of Bulba kind of comes from, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Bulba has a lot of Dota knowledge. He has a lot of experience. It's not just like playing experience. He's played with some of the best players and best teams, so
Mm.
he can bring that forward. And he also has a lot of coaching experience. So he kind of like he's seen the game from a lot of perspectives and with a lot of different people. So he has like more experience than probably anyone. So that's really helpful. Then also he's just got a good Dota mind. He thinks about Dota all the time. He's always talking about Dota. If he's not playing, he's talking about it. So he's a fiend. I'm sure that word has come around up
Yeah.
around Bulba many times. He's a fiend. He's a fiend of Dota. So, um, yeah, Bulba's just got a great mind for Dota. Talking about it, playing it, whatever. And he brings that to the team. He's very clear with his ideas most of the times. Like he'll type in Skype group or something when we're in boot camp. He's typing about these DAC games, like giving a lot of his opinions. Everyone throws in opinions, but Bulba tries to make his like very concise and like with purpose. Like, oh, I noticed this guy did this at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not just, oh, I think Monkey King's a good hero or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, Monkey King did this at this time. He did this and this for this lane, and I think that was really important because of, and stuff like that. So you know, really good to have one of those teammates, because you need teammates like that. You need people who really care and was kind of nerdy in a sense.
Mm. It's like
It's
a
good to
Dota
have that.
culture, I guess, right? To just foster it in and out of the game. And how is it? One thing I didn't ask yet is when you guys are playing together, how is are you a very high energy team? And is because in some cases I heard that it can be even a bit of a detriment if you get too excited about kind of the game. How is your overall kind of dynamic when you play the game? High energy, low energy. What are your thoughts on it?
I think I think the four of us are low energy, and then Bulba is high energy. I think Abed's really chill. I come from like EG, so like I learned, like I was already chill, but they were really chill. Like they did not care if they won. Not care that much. And then Jimmy's pretty relaxed. Dubu's pretty relaxed. And Bulba screams sometimes, dude. He's like really into it. He's like just yelling sometimes. I'm sure you've seen that Liquid video of like Liquid's doing it, and Bulba fucking jumps up and throws his headset and starts
Yeah.
doing some wave for the crowd or some crazy
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know, but that's Bulba. He's really high energy. Sometimes, excuse me. Sometimes I need to tell him to like relax a little bit.
Yeah.
We're still he'll do it during the game sometimes. Like we're still playing, man. Like we need to focus. So I think most of us are low energy, and Bulba is kind of high energy.
Hmm. All right. Um. Okay. What about to slowly wrap it up? I did wanna. I have a bunch. Well, let's start perhaps with um, Merlini and Toby. They were talking about how in the very old Dota days, and I'm not sure if if you remember that time, but I think you probably very well may. That a lot of stuff was settled in like 1v1s in mid in Dota 1. Were you
Hmm.
participating in that?
I didn't play Dota 1.
Ah,
I never
fuck.
played it.
Ah, too bad. Okay, yeah, well, because they could, that there it
I
was.
did play 1v1s in Dota 2 though.
Yeah.
So
What heroes? Was it then primarily SF, or what hero comes to mind when you think about those older days in Dota 2?
1v1s are usually settled with SF and Puck and Quap.
Hmm.
Quap and Puck used to be like the skilled matchup. Nowadays it's not really a thing because of shrines and bottle fairy and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Puck versus Quap was really good.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I remember in Dota 2 as well. But in that conversation that I was referring to, I think Toby mentioned he remembers Lina 1v1s. Merlini said no, it was he remembers Viper 1v1s in like way Dota 1 because you make one mistake you get fucked. That's what I remember as well. Maybe if someone's listening in from like way back in the Dota 1 days, you can let me know what your experience was with that. But I figured I'd ask. Um, who are your kind of Dota homies right now? Because I asked if you still hang around or talk to the EG boys. Who from kind of the NA scene? If is there like a handful of people that you can name me that you kind of regularly talk to? Who are like your people in Dota right now?
The NA goons. There's a lot of them. Kind of like Ritsu, Yawar, Arteezy, Way Too Sexy, Clairvoyance. Like there's just a lot of NA goons. Talk to all of them
Mm.
basically. So it's too many to name, I think.
And Way Two is also officially was it manager of the team? He's involved a bit. Is that correct?
He's a coach. Yeah.
Coach. Okay, cool. And he was he fulfills the role. He helps out with strategy and stuff as well.
Yeah. He was a really big help. He tries. We had some trouble figuring out how to fit Peter in on the new team.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that like we were a new team, so maybe a coach wasn't the best thing, but we re- me, Jimmy, and Bulba know Peter pretty well, way too,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew he'd be a good addition. So we knew we wanted him on the team, but when things were first going, Dubu didn't really know Way Too Sexy that well, so it was hard. It's hard to respect the opinion of someone that you know next to nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of hard at first, but as time has gone on, Dubu and Peter, who are probably like the two most important people to
Mm-hmm.
like understand and respect each other, Um, they've gotten along a lot better, and I think Dubu's way more open to Peter's ideas now, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Peter's open to his
Well,
ideas.
yeah, of course. And of course, again, special mention to Way Too Sexy. We've talked a lot about your teammates, and he never came up. So Way Too, shout out to you. Of course, you remember him from back in the day when he was also rocking the scene. Cool to hear that he's helping you guys out. Um, Before we wrap it up, we talked about Boba. We've talked a lot about you and what happened with you, especially after EG during EG. Um, can you talk to us a bit about Demon? Like, how do you experience him as a teammate, and just some thoughts on him, and especially maybe we can focus it on the role that he executes in game, and then just your general impression of him as a teammate.
Jimmy's a really good teammate. Inside of game and outside of game. Sometimes there's arguments that arise within a team. It's always gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
People get stressed out, but Jimmy's always just really relaxed. He always he never gets too mad at anyone. He always says really nice, encouraging things. Uh, you need everyone should try to be like that. Honestly, everyone should try to be really encouraging to each other. He does a really good job of that. And inside the game, he does a lot of good calls for us. Like I said, it's mainly me, Dubu, and Bulba talking,
Mm-hmm.
but Jimmy makes Roche calls usually, and they're really good Roche calls. He makes some late game smoke calls that are just really on point. That just kind of secure the game for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Jimmy has good ideas. He's a good teammate outside of the game too. Um, you know, if there was never mind, never mind. I'll see you at that.
Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect. Let's go to Dubu.
All right, Dubu. I didn't really know much about him, obviously, him being Korean and such. I never really
Mm-hmm.
played with them, so I was kind of wary he was of me when we
Yeah.
first started this thing. But as time has gone on, I've grown to respect Dubu a lot. I really like how he thinks about the game. I really like how he treats all of us, his teammates. Very calm captain, never too hype or anything. Never really says anything bad about anyone. He's a really nice guy. Like he's genuinely nice. He doesn't want to say a bad word about anybody. You know.
Mm-hmm. And now little guy Abed.
Abed, Abed doesn't say much. He's pretty quiet, maybe a little shy. I don't know, but it's awesome to have him on the team. PPD says in interviews and when he talks about Dota, you need a polarizing player to play around. This is one of the things he says, and
Yeah.
Abed's our player. He is our player. He is the star of the team. He is the best player, whatever you want to call him. We play around him. We try to try our game plans kind of around Abed a bit. So, um, without Abed, I don't know where this team would be, but I am extremely glad we got him. He
Oh.
is a really good player, and he has so much potential.
Mm-hmm. Wicked. And he's just 16. My God.
Yep, he has years ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Now, the last thing I like to ask is, the pub thing, and if there's something, and we'll get to that. But you did mention, nothing serious, but that there was, some stuff. You had some a little verbal or text altercation, with Swindle Melons.
Hmm.
How are your feelings toward him? Like, would you like if you run into each other? Is it all good? You respect him? You just wanted to point out that was kind of strange.
Um, I I respect him in the fact that he tries and that he's clearly dedicated and emotional about Dota.
Mm.
But as a person, I think we are really different. Um, I mean, if I ran into a LAN, I wouldn't be like, "Yo, man, what's your problem?" I wouldn't run up on him or anything. But I probably just keep my distance.
Any just want to throw it out there. Is there like any beef or any situations in the scene right now that you find particularly interesting, that you may be involved in? Anything that's been going on where you're thinking, it's interesting to think about, or something that involves you yourself? I don't know, like team secret, or any drama, any beef going on right now you want to talk about?
I don't know if there's any real beef. Everyone tries to stay friendly with each other to avoid exactly what happened with E and Puppy. Like that,
Yeah.
honestly, that's kind of, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it's something like that. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just I like I get into altercations sometimes in pubs with people, but I usually try to keep it keep it I don't know, keep the flaming and stuff minimal. I don't know. I don't know how to word it, but no, beefs just aren't good for the scene right now. People are way too PC. No one wants with like puppy e drama, honestly. None of the players want it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I
Just
mean, I
go
think
play Dota and go move
yeah,
on.
yeah, and I mean, I think that was a bit of a wake up call for people because that was a huge shitstorm. I mean, it was a great read. Honestly, I enjoyed reading it, but I was also wondering, my God, this is getting public. Holy crap! Um, uh, fuck. Now I forgot what I wanted to follow up with. Puppy, the drama. Shit. It was because I was thinking about that blog post and it was so insane. It was so juicy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It
Yeah.
was it was fucking insane. My God.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
sure I love drama. You know what? It's great to read, but at the same time, you don't really want to be a part of it. So,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Okay, well, I'll let you know if I remember. I'm sorry, but then let's go to you said you played a lot of pubs, and with you playing a shitload of pubs, there must be a bunch of pet peeves that you kind of observe recurringly that piss you off. Is there a PSA you want to get out there that people do in pubs? Something that people do in pubs that you want them to stop with?
It's mainly just people not listening and not trying to play as a team. There's way too many people with egos. It's not gonna change. The PSA will not change anything. Way too many egos and not enough people listening. There's pubs sometimes are just watch everyone farm and try to make solo plays. So whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pubs are pretty annoying sometimes.
So that is something that pisses you off is that it just the kind of the same general theme that people are not listening, they're just always right, and don't listen to one another.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like I had for instance, I had a game last night with some my Peruvian comrades, and I third picked my support made me third pick core, and then picked Slark because it looked like an okay Slark game. But then I got followed up with two counters, Axe and Void. They were pretty good for Slark,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I said like during the game, like as we were losing, like as the throne was basically dying, I was like, man, I didn't want to. I can't just third pick Slark and then you pick like a roamer. You need to help me in lane. And then like my last pick, 10th pick, Alchemist starts flaming me. Uh, Van Dota, shout out, man. Starts flaming me, and I'm just like, dude, you picked Alchemist where I'm Slark. Like, you're not making any space for me. I don't know. Alchemist Slark dual core. It's not good. They're both pretty bad together. So, anyways, stuff like that. Just like zero concept of teamwork or like helping each other.
Yeah, I mean, what I as a ground theme here out of the conversation with you a lot is that you seem very aware of the that people in pubs, especially of course, that they don't listen and that you probably personally put a lot of focusing on yourself. Where can you improve? What's something you can do better? And that's something that the sentiment that I very much share and. Do you think it'll ever kind of change in pubs? Like, do you think we're just in a kind of teeny time when it comes to online gaming, or is it always going to be like this? Or do you think that in the future people will be better to give and take critique in like strategy games?
Um, Dota. I played League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Dota. It's hard in Dota. There's so much more ego in Dota for some reason. I mean, League of Legends isn't really the greatest community either, but in Dota particularly, there's so much ego, and everyone wants to play core only because support's boring or whatever. And also, there's also like in NA and EU, there's like Russians and then like English people playing together, and like Americans and Peruvians playing together. So there's like a language barrier
Oh yeah.
sometimes. So that can be annoying. And like League of Legends, it's a little different. It's really not so bad there. Um, so I don't know. It's kind of just Dota. I feel that
Oh,
no
okay.
one wants to listen or play together or whatever. So yeah.
Is it the same? Because I obviously hear about Peruvians or Brazilians. With us, or here in Germany, it's there's definitely like the Russian versus kind of English speaking Europeans, where from our perspective, it's like, my God, there's people from Russia that do not, they don't see the reason in speaking a language at least that everyone on the team can speak. And that's something that I just don't understand why you would speak your own language. Especially after you find out that the rest of your team doesn't speak that language. Is it? I wasn't aware that it's the same, that you have something similar in NA.
Oh, it's pretty bad in NA. I mean,
wow.
Peruvians English is like okay, but there's like 2 to 3 Peruvians every game. Like it's not an exaggeration. Like 2 to 3 Peruvians on your team every game. So there's like 4 Peruvians, and like I mean, Peruvians are fine for the most part, but if they don't speak English, like I can't communicate with them, or like they're just they. I don't want to generalize, but some of the Peruvians in higher MM and NA, they really don't give a shit, and they throw like for the littlest things. King Tekka. I'm sure the NA goons listening to this don't know who that is. I don't know. There's just it would be nice if everyone is from NA and all the Peruvians play with the Peruvians, but Dota doesn't really work like that. So
Yeah, and I think people listening will understand kind of where you're coming from. And I did remember now. I did want to ask you about Reddit. Like, what's your relationship with Reddit? Do you enjoy it? Do you post on it frequently? How's your relationship with the big board?
my dogs are actually going insane. Can you hear them or not really?
Oh, it's we can hear them, but it's not bad, and we're almost done.
Okay. All right. All right. Reddit is I still read Reddit every single day. Not just Dota 2 Reddit, all of Reddit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean Reddit's fine. I just think that when it comes to like the media, like people flame Fox News, like say, oh, Fox News makes stuff up, they have their own agenda, etc., etc. I feel like our Dota 2 is the same way. They just make things up and it gets upvoted, and all of a sudden, this thing that was upvoted, whether it's true or not, because people like what that person said, it's all of a sudden a fact, and
Yeah.
now people see it with like 300 upvotes, like, wow, this is a really popular opinion. I should get on board with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's kind of shitty, but whatever. I still enjoy Reddit.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. Mason, man, it's I was a very big fan of just your whole story. I was very, just someone that comes in, because when you were playing on EG, as you mentioned earlier, you were pretty much just performing a function, right? And I was very interested to see how that develops over time. Like how one could use that experience in such a top level team where you're just performing a function, and because obviously you're observing, you're taking in, you're thinking about it, and maybe it took some time and some hardship, but now I'm very happy. Congratulations, dude, for qualifying for the Kiev Major. I'll be sure to, of course, follow your games and see how it goes. And I want to thank you very much for taking the interview. I appreciate it. It's been over an hour now. Is there any particular things you wanted to mention? Any shout outs? Any of the things? It's the last word.
Thank you to everyone who's just supported us, and nice words that people have said to me and about my teammates. Uh, you know, Sometimes people get flamey, but I think everyone else on the team appreciates the nice and kind words. And also thank you to Beyond the Summit for letting us boot camp for Kiev qualifiers, and thank you to Peter, way too sexy, our coach, and KGB, our manager.
Mm-hmm.
And also thank you to you for interviewing me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure, man. No problem. I'll hit. Please check the description, guys. I'll put social media links and everything down there. Be sure to follow Mason. Support them. It's really an interesting story. This is it for this epiChat. Follow me on Twitter as well. Let me know who you want me to speak to next. With the Kiev Major coming up, people bootcamping may be hard, but I'll stay on it to keep them going on the regular. So thanks everyone for listening in, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.